Hi everyone and welcome along to the full-time show. My name is Laurie. I'm joined by my guy Frank here. We've just witnessed Arsenal with a pretty nervy 2-1 win, but a win all the same. Takes us top of the table, so it's all good in this side of North London.
And breathe. That was so unnecessarily stressful, Laurie.
It was stressful, yeah. I mean, it's interesting because at the start of the game, we was on the sofa during the watch-alongs. We went round the table giving our predictions, and I think pretty much everybody was saying, I said by 2 clear goals. Some people were saying 3-1, 4-1.
I said 5.
You said 5.
To be fair.
So.
But Arsenal have given me good reason to go for predictions.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that recently,
that's what I was about to say, that because we came into this game in such good form, scoring goals for fun, and Brentford, I know they'd got the draw at home against Chelsea last week. They'd not been in a good run of form. So we were fully expected to win this game and maybe win it comfortably. But I wouldn't say it was comfortable, because it wasn't, let's be honest. But having said that, I'm going to be honest and say that I never doubted that we would win, even when it was 1-1.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It's a bit of a weird one saying that it wasn't comfortable, but we were never in doubt. If you know, it's weird to say, but I understand where you're coming from. Yeah. I just had almost flashbacks to last season, the same game. You know, when we was performing fairly well, like it just didn't have the finishing end product. Which obviously led to the 1-1 draw last season in the same fixture. And I just thought it was going to be the same situation here today. And the circumstances in which that would have happened would have just been so unfortunate.
Well, to drop 2 points would have been almost like a loss.
100%, especially at this late stage in the season. And, you know, you look at what a single goal can do to help you get extra points. And now we're in a really good position where if Liverpool and City draw tomorrow, it's a big if. If Liverpool and City draw tomorrow, then we're top of the table.
Absolutely.
Leading in goal difference, undisputed.
Yeah. But let's take it from the top then. So the game started. I think it's fair to say that we were fairly in control of the game, but without being at our fluent best, or at least as good as in recent weeks, definitely not. But in the 19th minute, we got the breakthrough. Declan Rice, great bit of play. Ben White on the edge of the box, floats a lovely ball in. Declan Rice gets the better of the defender, who's not even looking at the ball, by the way. Slots it in, really good header. Goalkeeper, no chance, 1-0 up. You're thinking, yeah, man, we could be on our way. Still assumed control of the game, I thought, but without looking particularly penetrative. But then, just before half-time, man, you know what I mean? I was thinking 4 minutes into the end of extra time.
And, you know,
I say, incident with Ramsdale.
Of course. And I say it as a joke, being obviously the chairman of the goalkeeper union, but I will always try and look for a way to defend a goalkeeper where I can. That was the first time in a very long time that I haven't been able to defend a goalkeeper. There is no excuse on the planet for the mistake he made in this game.
Because the thing about that struck me about that is that he wasn't under any real pressure when he received
Not initially,
the ball,
no.
Because Wissa wasn't even in the camera shot at the time.
And the thing that frustrates me, and obviously I didn't see it until we kind of got the replays and stuff like that, is it's a heavy touch, absolutely. And that's what obviously invites the pressure from Wissa. And then he just doesn't get it out of his feet. And I'm not even expecting him necessarily to hoof it long. What happened and what annoyed me when I saw the replay was there's a free William Saliba. Ivan Toney doesn't press Saliba. Yeah. So William Saliba is there for a short option, and Ramsdale still, you know, takes his time with the ball at his feet, and ultimately it costs him. But I must say, and I don't think anyone's going to sort of give him the credit that he deserves for the response to the mistake that he made.
Well, I was going to come on to that. Yeah. So that goal, I think, is as a result of Ramsdale's poor concentration, because they had more than enough time to either kick the ball long or to, as you said, find Saliba, who was waiting in space for the pass but didn't receive one. Instead, he dwells on it, and then before you know it, we just closed him down, and the ball's in the net. 1-1. You're going into half time. You're thinking, for Brentford, that is, you know what I mean, as good as it gets for them, really. You know what I mean? Because they were, like I said before, it was 1-0 and we were looking fairly comfortable without looking sensational, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But all of a sudden they get that out of nothing, and then the second half now becomes a lot more difficult, because then Brentford have got their tails up. We've got to start from scratch, and we did look a bit nervy.
We did.
Although we were still the better team, I thought, and more likely to score. Second half, I think that moment there showed the two sides of Ramsdale, the Tony moment.
Absolutely.
Brilliant bit of skill by Ivan Toney. Hits the ball first time outside of the foot.
Of course.
It looked to all intents and purposes like it might go in.
Look, if that goes in, we're looking at one of the goals of the season.
Yeah,
and I think
absolutely.
I feel like people are still going to be fairly critical of Aaron Ramsdale for that one, because some will say he shouldn't have been that high. There's not a possibility in the world that he's expecting that shot. To be honest, he shouldn't have been in a situation where he needed to save that. I feel like the defending could have been a little bit better to not allow Ivan Toney to get the shot off. But the save that he makes, especially being so far off his line because he's not expecting it to come, is a fantastic save. I would go and then the second one for me, the reaction save from, I think it was around the 75th, 80th minute from the defender's header. The reaction time and the speed at which he gets his hand to that ball, that's a world-class save for me.
So in essence, I think you saw in that game the two sides of Aaron Ramsdale all in one. You know
absolutely.
what I mean? You go from, because I've always said that I do rate Aaron Ramsdale highly.
Of course.
And he's supremely gifted as a keeper. He's very athletic, good shot stopper, commands his box well most of the time. His decision making though, and his concentration can come into question at times. And I think certainly with the goal that he gave away, it was definitely in question there.
Absolutely.
But then you can't argue. It could be argued that he kept us in the game with those two saves. So
no, of course, absolutely. And just really
did he redeem himself, or was it his fault in the first
yes,
place? Yes,
I think he redeemed himself only because we got the result. You know, I just think it's such a massive shame, because when you look, that to me looked like a goodbye for Aaron Ramsdale. You know, I don't think there's any point in the season where it's planned that he's going to be playing, unless, you know, David Raya gets injured and then we're forced to use him. It's quite clear that Raya is going to play for the rest of the season now. We're not in any domestic cups, but it's only the League and Champions League, and it's quite clear that Raya is the favoured goalkeeper. And it's just such a shame
more
because
so after today,
100, well, there you go, 100%. And it's such, I keep saying it's such a shame because Ramsdale for me, and this might be slightly controversial, is I mentioned it on the stream. You look back to the last great goalkeeper that we had. You're probably still going as far as Jens Lehmann. Since Jens Lehmann's time, I think Ramsdale's the best goalkeeper we've ever had.
Yeah, it could certainly be.
So the fact that, you know, the last potential memory of him at Arsenal is the mistake that he makes, which could have cost us potentially the Premier League if we don't go and win that game. So I'm just glad, for him, and B, for Arsenal, that we managed to get the winning goal and we carry on.
Okay, then, so you've heard myself and Frank sum up what we thought were the major points of the game. Listen, you've got the number there. Download the app to join FANZONE. Let us know what you think. Was this Ramsdale's last game, as Frank is predicting? In this game, did he show what the Ramsdale that we've seen over the previous months have been? Namely, he went from the ridiculous to the sublime.
Zero to hero. Zero to hero.
Absolutely. So let us know what you think.
Of course, just a super chat here from Kian, I believe comes on FANZONE sometimes. He's not going to be on the FANZONE tonight, but great result onto Porto on Tuesday. Absolutely. Massive, massive game on Tuesday.
Yeah, and just on that Porto game, I've got some breaking news. Well, maybe not so much breaking if you're in the know, but certainly breaking to some of the fans, Arsenal fans around the globe, and that is Gabriel Martinelli, who didn't feature today. We're being told has a pretty serious cut on his leg, and he will not be available for the Porto game, so we're being led to believe. He certainly wasn't available today, wasn't in the squad, and they're saying he's a major doubt for Tuesday, which is a bit of a blow because we're going to need his pace and his ingenuity, you would have thought, at that game. Trossard came in for him today. Wasn't his best day at the office, bro?
Wasn't his best day at the office, but let's not take away from the fact that over the last few games he's looked pretty good.
Yeah.
So I believe that Trossard is more than good enough to, you know, start that game against Porto. However, I can't help but feel that Martinelli would have been massively effective in that game, especially we're going to be on the front foot for, I'd imagine, a majority of the game, just relentless attacking, because we know we're not in a situation what we should be going into this second leg, and we need goals. So it's going to be attack, and I can't help but feel that Martinelli would have benefited massively from that.
Definitely.
So it's a
I
shame.
think we're going to see a lot of the ball, and also you got to remember with Pepe in the team, what is he? 41 years old
41,
now.
yeah.
You would imagine that someone like Martinelli might be able to expose his lack of pace.
Absolutely.
Although we didn't do that in the first game.
Yeah, of course.
But maybe in the second game that would have been more plausible for us to get in behind him. But anyway, I do think that we will have enough firepower to beat Porto. I'm not expecting that will be an easy game. Indeed, I was quite surprised by some of the Arsenal fans I've spoken to since that first game when we lost to them in Portugal. Seem to be of the opinion, don't worry about it. Once we get them back to the Emirates, we'll smoke them.
I'm kind of there. I think what's really important is that we get an early goal.
I think we can win, don't get me wrong,
course,
but I just caution against people being a bit too overconfident.
It's not going to be easy, absolutely, because we know exactly what Porto's plan is going to be going into this game. It worked against us, and it worked against us in the away leg, and they're going to set up the same until we get a goal. So I think it's essential that we get an early goal in that game and then go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, okay, been advised by our technical staff that we have a caller, Mads, I believe. And there he is.
Hey.
He's not looking too happy.
Hi, how are you guys?
I'm all right, man. Relieved. How are you, more importantly?
Relieved as well, yeah. No, listen, I tend to celebrate these kind of wins more than the 6-0s, the 5-0s, because the feeling these last minute, you'd rather win 5-0 or 6-0, but the kind of celebration you do when it's a last minute goal, the relief, so...
In many ways, this is kind of more back to reality, isn't it? Because we've had this run where we've been, let's face it, we use the term in England, smoking teams, you know what I mean? Putting them to the sword.
Yeah, definitely. We have been smoking teams.
Yeah, but today it was a very different type of win, but a win that was just as important all the same. And I've been saying for a while now that having these 4-5-0s and all that is great, 6-0s, but sooner or later you're going to come up against teams that are more resilient. So you have to show that you can win another way, and today we did that. What did you take from today's game?
Most definitely. No, I expected a difficult game in the sense that I didn't expect a 5-0 or a 4-0. I definitely expected something like a 1 or a 2-0 because we've got Porto that it's really difficult to keep a game of this magnitude out of your mind when you've got that kind of game. I know we are a mature enough team now to focus on one game at a time, but it's still going to be on your mind that you've got this magnitude of a game on Tuesday. So I thought that would play its part. But I thought we looked comfortable in the first half. I thought, it wasn't as dominating as it was in the last recent games because we don't let teams breathe since 2004, 2024 struck. We dominate to a point where teams are lost. Yeah. And, on the ball, they have 1-2 seconds to think, and usually they just hoof it away. Today we gave Brentford a little bit more space, a little bit more time to think. It wasn't the intensity of the last few games, but we were still in a very comfortable zone. Could have scored a lot more goals.
Matt, I do agree with you. Even though we weren't at our fluent best of recent weeks, I still think we pretty much controlled the game. I think halfway through the first half, or actually no, it wasn't. It was just before the Declan Rice scored in the 90th minute. I think I commented that we were enjoying like 75% possession. So I got the feeling that we were going to score sooner or later, and then we did get the goal in the 90th minute. And then, I'd love to hear your opinion on this. We're 1-0 up, and you're thinking, right, that's it. We're going to go on now and really put our stamp on this game. And then just before the end of the first half, Aaron Ramsdale.
I couldn't believe it because 10-15 minutes prior to that, when he had the ball, I was thinking in my head, he's that slow with it. As good as he is with distribution with his feet today, he was slow. So every time he took time to do it. And I was thinking in my head, if Wissa or Ivan Toney decide to make a sprinting run towards him and press him properly, I can see him making a mistake. I literally thought that 10-15 minutes before it happened. When it happened, I was like, oh my, I couldn't believe my eyes. He ruined my accumulator as well. I had Arsenal winning the first half.
Do you think that moment and then obviously in the second half, those two outstanding saves, notably the one from Ivan Toney, where he struck it for the half volley with the outside of the foot, and Ramsdale had to track back and tip it over. Do you think
you can say that
showed the two sides of Ramsdale today?
No, you can't say that, but I'm of the opinion that he's the one who's brought them back in the game, and he's the one who gave them that confidence to make shots from far away, to play better football.
The damage is already done.
Once they've equalized, once they've scored that goal, Brentford is not the type of team that that fears teams, if you like. So every time most of the times they play Man City, they always give us a hard time. Yeah. I think they drew Chelsea last week. They're a tough team to play against, whether you play them at home or away. Yeah. So if you bring them back in the game and you've got 45 minutes to change that can be very difficult, especially for a team like us. We bomb forward in the sense that we usually have 2 or 3 players maybe up most, guarding the back line. Everybody else is usually forward, trying to penetrate, trying to score a goal. So the fact that he's made that mistake really brought them in the game. I think if he doesn't make that mistake, we win comfortably 2-0, maybe 3-0. And, they don't cause us much trouble, like they haven't been up until that moment in the first half. So I think that's you can say he's made up for it, but he wouldn't have to make up for it if he didn't make the mistake in the first place.
No, I agree. It's one of those, if you're looking to be kind to him, you say, well, he kind of redeemed himself with those 2 saves. But then, as you said, quite rightly actually, which is if he doesn't make that mistake in the first place, he could be argued that Brentford would...
I've never looked to be kind to him. So every time we've had those conversations, I've always said, I understand why Arteta has brought Raya. I've supported him buying Raya as a goalkeeper, and I've seen glimpses and I've seen signs from last season that made me question Ramsdale. As good as the shot stopping was, people kind of refused to see the weak side of his game. He's cost us a few goals last season as well, where he could have done better, but we tend to protect that. Yeah. So that was the decision I supported. The decision I haven't supported, and I couldn't support at the time, was buying Kai Havertz, and how wrong was I?
Yeah, I was going to ask you about Kai Havertz. That's 4 in 4 now. He got the winner today. It's one of those games from Havertz, I've got to say, that I didn't think up until the goal that he'd had his best game. In fact, I was on the sofa with the guys, and some of them, James and Frank here, were saying that maybe that substitution could have been him coming off. Him and Trossard will be the ones that people were talking about. But to be fair to the manager, he kept faith with him and he delivered again.
I would slightly disagree. I think even outside of the goal, his involvement has been massively improved. Has been a massive improvement overall. He's a physical player. I was more talking today's game. Yeah, today's game. Oh, okay. Just today's game even. I thought today he looks better on the ball. So, he's not always going to be flashy on the decision making. He's not always going to, stand out. But I like him more on the ball than I used to. Like in the first part of the season when he was touching the ball, he didn't look confident to me at all. He looked like he knew what the fans thought of his transfer. Like, definitely, I think players know these things. So I think he looks much more confident now. I think he looks like a right player now. So I didn't think his performance was that bad today. He wouldn't have been the guy I would have subbed off. I thought
he did have a good chance, didn't he, in the first half there? One that
the one-on-one.
Yeah.
The one-on-one,
quite badly wide. And I remember thinking,
but I don't think he's a clinical striker anyway. Like, we're never really associated him with a clinical striker. But he does. You give him enough chances, he will score a goal, and he's saved us today again.
Yeah, no, I agree. So, Frank, is there anything?
No, I thought.
Yeah, so I'm going to bring it back to the Ramsdale situation, because obviously I'm of the opinion that Ramsdale's one of the big reasons why we're back in Champions League football and competing for the Premier League again. What I want to know from you is, obviously, for me, that looked like a goodbye today. I think it's quite clear that Ramsdale's not going to be playing for Arsenal again unless Raya is to get injured. How do you look back on Aaron Ramsdale's time as a whole at Arsenal? Do you look at the positives more, or do you look more at the negatives?
That's a very good question, because he has saved us on many occasions. We don't even have to look too far. The Liverpool game, 2-2, Salah's shot. Not many goalkeepers in the world can save that. But at the same time, the way I see it, in important moments, he is an emotional goalkeeper. He's an emotional goalkeeper. He's a young goalkeeper, and that is why, on many occasions, he's let us down. The game against Southampton, passing the ball to a Southampton striker, that's not because Aaron Ramsdale is a bad goalkeeper. It's because Aaron Ramsdale is a young, emotional goalkeeper. And going from Sheffield, where you've been relegated twice, to a club like Arsenal, and all of a sudden you're playing for a title race, you probably didn't even know you were going to play for a title. So I thought that was a little bit too much for him, which is why when this transfer happened, and I've heard of David Raya, I thought that is probably the right decision to make. We have to be ruthless in football. So Arteta has to be ruthless. He cannot just listen to the fans. He cannot just listen to the mainstream media. He has to make decisions that he thinks are best for this club. He's made the decision to buy Kai Havertz. We were all screaming, including me, that's not the right decision to make. He's been rubbish for 3 years. He's been this, he's been that. Look at how that's turning out. Look at how David Raya has been sensational lately, especially with the distribution. The Porto goal, the Porto game, yes, he's made a mistake in my opinion. I've said it myself. But apart from that, every other game has been good. So this manager is not a manager that I'm going to question in terms of his decisions. I think Aaron Ramsdale can resume his career somewhere else. I really do. I think it was a goodbye today as well. I think it's his last game he's played for us. So
interesting. Okay.
You know, kind of like...
We've got a couple of other callers. They've been waiting a while to get on, but very good start, Mads. Well said. And look,
always a pleasure, guys.
Yeah.
Take care.
Always
Hopefully call back when we beat Porto on Tuesday. Thank you.
Yeah, see you on Tuesday.
Cheers.
Take care.
Right. Got Michael on. This could be quite poetic.
Here we go. Hello, Michael.
Hello, guys. Well, I just want to say I agree 100% with Mans that I do think this is Ramsdale's last game, but I wish him the best. I wanted to see him start for England. I think that, you know, overall, I give him a 5 for today because of the mistake was so horrible, but it really shows character to come back in the second half and make world-class saves, both against Tony and on that header at the end. And I'm glad that he's going out like that will be his last game with Arsenal. That will be his last half.
Yeah, it's typical of Ramsdale that if that is his last game, he's gone out with a bang, so to speak, because he kind of, in today's 90 minutes, epitomised what he's all about. So he had the goal that he conceded, which was, let's face it, poor. I put it down to a complete lack of concentration there because he did have time, a sufficient amount of time to get rid of that ball. He could have gone long with a clearance. He could have sought out Saliba for the pass, but he dillied and dallied, and all of a sudden he got caught. So you went from 1-0 up and, if not coasting, looking fairly comfortable. You've let Brentford back in it. But then in the second half, 2 saves. The one in particular from Tony, I thought that was a world-class save, actually. And then the other one you spoke about, the header. So if you're being kind to Ramsdale, you can say, well, he redeemed himself. But then as Matt said, and one or two others have said, well, he put us in that situation in the first place. So, yeah, interesting.
I think in the first half, he was trying to imitate Raya. Like, look at me, I can distribute. Look at me, I'm good with my feet. Yeah. And the problem was it didn't work out in the 45th minute.
No. There was one piece of distribution that he did that I thought was really good. It wasn't with his feet, it was with his hands. Remember?
The long throw, yeah.
And I think it was it Havertz? Was that the one that Havertz missed?
It was Trossard.
Oh, Trossard, yeah.
He couldn't quite get the shot on.
He didn't quite have the pace to take the shot on in the end and got closed down. But yeah, so that was really good. But
one other point, why aren't we talking more about Ben White? For me, he's the player of the match.
Yeah,
because both goals come from inch-perfect assists from him.
100%.
I mean, without that kind of delivery, we don't end up breaking Brentford down. And in my mind, that makes the difference in the match.
I kid you not, that was going to be my next question, because on my fan cam that I gave immediately after the game, I said that I thought Ben White was man of the match, and I was going to ask you that. So we segued very nicely. Then
we're absolutely together on that, Laurie. Yeah.
I thought he was man of the match.
Right.
And I said as well, I want to know if you would agree with me in this, it's not just today he's played well. He's been playing well now for a number of weeks, but he's kind of gone under the radar because there's been more obvious candidates for man of the matches in games. But his level of performance in recent weeks has been very, very good.
Scored a great goal against Sheffield.
Today he made the difference. And look how many times Saka shows up in the center or even on the left side of the pitch. And that's made possible by the fact that White is occupying that space on the right. So I'm really, really happy with how Ben White has recovered from his slump.
No, I'm with you on that. I too thought he was man of the match. Just projecting forward, or your thoughts on the game overall. Right, so...
I mean, except for the mistake from Ramsdale, I think we would look at a 2 or 3-0 domination. You know, I think that the fact that we gave up a cheap equalizer at the end of the first half changes the way we see the game. But I think we dominated I think we had like over 70% possession. We can, most of the game was in the final third of the field.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we had something like 17 shots on goal as well.
Yeah.
So,
One thing is, I don't want to sound like Ty, but what the hell was that penalty missed when Trossard gets clotheslined? I think it was on the 65th minute.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't blame the referee for missing that. I blame VAR for looking at it and not calling that back as a penalty.
And in fact, there was another incident towards the end of that game as well, where there was a clear pull on the shirt. Who was the player that went down?
I think it was...
It was Gabriel.
It
was Gabriel.
Yeah, that looked like a penalty.
Yeah, but the Trossard one is more obvious to me because he was running on a trajectory onto the cross. I mean, he would have had a goal-scoring chance if he hadn't gotten yanked back by the neck. And I don't understand why VAR exists if we don't call that back as a penalty.
I absolutely agree with you. That was a clothesline job and 100% penalty that should have been given but wasn't. So that was poor from the officials. Frank.
Okay. And look, the last point I want to make, like so many times we're watching games with Liverpool and Man City where it's tied going into the 90th minute, but we just know that they're going to score at the very end because that's who they are. And I feel like this is who we are now, that we're going to get the goal in the 88th minute. I'll so offend to make offense a skill, redeeming time when men think least I will. Top of the league. Come on, you Gunners.
Thank you very much, Michael. Lovely way to round that call off. Thank you very much, bro. Speak again soon.
All right, see you next week.
Nice one. Cheers. Right, I think we've got Zach on the line. There he is.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
I'm good, man. I'm good. How are you?
Absolutely over the moon.
I must say we're a little relieved, although I'm going to be honest and say I always thought we could win the game. I wasn't really that worried, but I'm still relieved because you've got to get the goal and get and win. What was your overall thoughts on the game?
I'm happy with the 3 points. We're on to the next one. It was tough with Aaron's error that basically made the game a lot harder than it should have been.
Yep.
But we have the best playmakers and some of the best finishers in the league. And Kai Havertz, big ups to Kai, because he had another big game, big winner for us, and no one's even talking about it. So I think that's what's up.
That's 4 in 4 for him now. 4 goals
exactly.
in 4 games. And
he's been critical for our success through these past 7-8 games. Yes. So it needs to continue moving forward. I think it's going to be tough because we have 2 really tough games up ahead, but anything can happen.
Yep, definitely. Frank, you got anything you want to...
No, absolutely. Obviously, you mentioned about the games that are coming up ahead, and obviously we can't look as for me. I don't think you can look any further than Tuesday at the moment. But before that, it's nothing to do with Arsenal really. But we've got the big game between Manchester City and Liverpool tomorrow. We go into that game, and then both of these teams now, because of the result that we got today, know that in theory a win, anything but a win, wouldn't be good enough to go back to the top of the table. So I just want to know, considering how good of a situation we are in right now, given today's result, are you starting to feel a little bit more confident about our chances of winning the league?
Yeah, it definitely depends on tomorrow's result and definitely next week's. Because if City loses or draws tomorrow and loses to us next week, or gets 2 draws, that's 2 from 6 against the top 2, and that's not good for them. So they need to play their best. Liverpool needs to play their best, and we need to play our best. And we've done our job for this week.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things I took away from today's game, and I'd be interested to hear your views on this, is that recently, as you know, we've been smoking teams. I think it's like in our last 7 games prior to today, we won all 7. We've been scoring goals for fun, something like 31 goals scored, only 3 conceded. And it looked to all intents and purposes that everyone we play, we were going to blow them away. But we all know that in reality, sooner or later, you're going to come up against a team with a little bit more resilience. And so it would be interesting to see how we get on. And today was that day where things didn't go all our way. We had to find another way to win. And I'm actually quite, how can I put it? I'm actually quite satisfied that we showed that we can find another route to win rather than just blowing teams away from the start. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I think the next key that we need to do is have Thomas Partey and Gabriel Jesus back into the team and have them start scoring for us and contributing into goals. Because I think that's the next step to unlock us, is having more than just the 11 on the field be able to contribute. Like, there's the distribution today that Aaron had to Trossard. We talked about it. And if Martinelli was there, that would have been an easy tap-in, I think. It's good to have Trossard there, but different types of playmakers and goal scorers we need to have. People like Partey and Tomiyasu as well. Just getting healthy at the right time is what we need to do to really unlock the next stage for us, and because it's what we need to do in order to win any kind of trophy this year. Because with the way that Man City and Liverpool are playing, we can't drop any points.
I see what you mean. Just out of interest, obviously, I'm pointing more at the Thomas Partey situation, obviously, that you mentioned there. Given how well everyone else in the midfield is playing at the moment, you look at Ødegaard, who's obviously not going to be dropped, A, because he's brilliant, and B, because he's our captain. Jorginho's been fantastic since the start of the new year, and Declan Rice is like the immovable object in that Arsenal team at the moment. How do you go about integrating a Thomas Partey back into this team? Is he someone that now he's back, goes straight back into the team with no questions, or what's your thoughts on that?
I think he's definitely got to earn his place back in the team. I think Jorginho is... our midfield really has 4 players, with Kai Havertz too, who can play there if Gabriel Jesus becomes healthy. And because both Partey and Jesus are fighting for 2 spots. And it really adds, it's a glutton of luxury to be able to have these types of players compete for these positions, because it's tough. Because Kai absolutely deserves a spot. And he's someone who can play in the midfield, although I think striker is the best position for him, for us, which makes it tough for Gabby Jesus to make it back in the team. But, and I think Mikel has touched on it, that each of these players bring different skill sets. And I think that's what matters for each one of these games coming up, is how he expects these players to break down defenses, because it seems like we have a really good we have a much better time at breaking down teams than teams do trying to break us down.
Interesting, yeah. Just on that as well, with regards to teams and options and stuff like that, we're hearing that Gabriel Martinelli, who didn't start today, in fact, he wasn't in the squad today, is likely to be out on Tuesday. If that is the case, who would you like to see? Would you want to see Trossard retain his place there? Or would you make a couple of changes to accommodate?
I'm going to say something out of left field here and say Reiss Nelson deserves a start, because I think the energy that he brings is what is necessary on the left side. And while I like Trossard, he doesn't have that burst in top pace the way that Martinelli does, and we missed it today.
You know what? That is,
and I think Reiss Nelson probably is our best shot at replicating something like that.
Yeah, you know what? That is a very good point, and we'll see what happens. But listen, thanks very much for your call.
Yeah, of course. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. And I'm liking that last selection advice there.
Really good call.
Yeah, I think that's good. Okay, thank you very much, bro, and hopefully speak again very soon.
Take care.
Irfan, how you doing, bro?
Hey, you alright, guys?
Yeah, your thoughts on today's win? How do you think we played? Who's your man of the match? What did you think of Ramsdale's performance? Where do you want to go first?
Yeah, my main point is to talk about Dale. Like, I can't have any criticism about him. I'm not having any criticism about him, because when that goal went in, when he made that mistake, I just felt so sorry for him.
Yeah.
And any anger I felt was directed at Arteta, actually. And not because he selected Ramsdale, but actually because of the way he's kind of just taken a piss all season. Like, he's mistreated Ramsdale. Bro. And it goes back to Arteta. Do you know what I mean? Had we won
For some reason, we're getting
the Rams
some
some
feedback.
good and got.
Can we drop the caller out and come back? We'll try and get him again, but
That
from
was
what
strong.
I can make of that, yeah, he had some choice words there. He said he was taking a piss.
I think that's obviously a bit too strong. I understand where he's coming from though, because I have said not that Arteta's taking the piss with it, but I felt like at times during the season, I think Mikel Arteta's been a bit unfair for Aaron Ramsdale, especially at the time when David Raya came in. I think we got him back. Is he back?
Yeah, we had some interruptions there, a bit of feedback and so forth. But you're back now. So just elaborate on that point you was making. You seem to be suggesting that you blame the manager for this situation. Tell the people why. Can you hear us?
All right, yeah.
Yeah, so our caller, who unfortunately we weren't able to make connection with, he seemed to be suggesting that it's the manager's fault. And earlier in the season, that point was being made.
I think the player management could have been a little bit better. To say he was taking the piss, I think that's obviously a bit strong, but that's just my opinion. I feel like that's the disappointment for me, and this comes from the fact that we've got knocked out of the domestic competition so early, because that's where you could have seen an Aaron Ramsdale play.
Yeah. Okay. All right, we got another caller. Steve. Steve.
Hello, Steve.
How you doing, man?
Hey, man. How you guys doing?
Not too bad, not too bad.
Much
Time's
better now
moving,
with the
so we're
3
going to get
points.
straight in it. What was your thoughts on today's game? Heroes, villains, you know.
Honestly, I thought we were, to put it in one word, wrap it up. I just think we were pretty resilient today.
Yeah.
In that second half, it looked shaky. But Laurie, we were talking about something like this last week, right? Where it was, did we peak off too fast, or were the wins coming too easy?
Yeah.
And today was like that perfect test that following week, right? And I'm not gonna lie, we looked a bit shaky for a bit of that second half, but when that final whistle blew, we were on top 2-1, and we overcame whatever we needed to overcome. And that right there, to me, showed a lot of character from the team at the end of the day,
I've got to ask you, though, Ramsdale's performance. Some people are saying it might well be his last performance in an Arsenal shirt. I don't know if that is the case, but in terms of today's performance, what's your assessment of Ramsdale?
Yeah, it's funny. I can't believe we're talking about Ramsdale here on this day when we're in first place.
Yeah.
But rightfully so, though. No, I think. Laurie, I think you nailed it. I think we got both sides of Ramsdale. What we saw last year is, you make a mistake, but then you have these acrobatic saves and these wow moments.
Yeah.
But I couldn't help but think to myself when I was watching the game and I saw Ramsdale make these great saves. Now the one from Tony, that was a crazy shot from Tony, to be honest. But I asked myself, I said, is it a coincidence? Because some of the comments that people had towards Raya was, well, we never get this great save from Raya. We never see these acrobatic saves from Raya. So I started asking myself, I said, why is it that Ramsdale's the one always having to make these acrobatic saves and not Raya? Like, is the defense a little bit more stable knowing that Raya is behind them? Not as many opportunities or chances are created, because the defense is a little bit more stout. I thought, Ben White today, flawless. But Saliba and Gabriel in the middle, just locking everything down, was top notch for me.
Yeah, apart from that shot that Tony had, they pretty much snuffed Tony out. In fact, I thought Wiesa was probably more of a threat than Tony.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I agree.
Frank?
Absolutely. I just want obviously to put it back to, obviously you made the comparison between David Raya and Aaron Ramsdale. I think the point that you were trying to make is why don't we see these acrobatic saves from David Raya? I think the difference is, While I think they're both equal in terms of ability, I think David Raya is the smarter keeper in the sense that he's always seems to be in the right position. He knows when to come and claim the ball, and I feel like Ramsdale's not got that, which leads to him not being in the right position all the time, which has to lead then to the acrobatic save. But just out of interest, and I'm going to tie this into the super chat that we've got from Dixon J Johnson. Don't agree. Ramsdale is weak compared to Raya. We need to stick to what we know best. Come on, you Gunners! What a massive win. On to the next. Out of the two, who do you believe is actually the better goalkeeper? It's quite clear who Mikel thinks it is, but in your personal opinion, who is the better goalkeeper?
In my personal opinion, that is a really tough question because I think they do different things and they're great at different things. But Raya, distribution-wise, I think is great. Ramsdale shot stopping, I think is great. But if I had to pick one, I think for this team making this push, I have to go with the older, more established goalkeeper, which for me would be Raya. I think he brings a sense of calmness to the back line, and I think that's important for us.
Okay, thank you very much. We're going to have to move on because we're closing up soon. We've got a few callers on the line waiting to their turn. But listen, thank you very much for your call, and hopefully speak to you again.
No, thank you guys.
Thank you very much.
No worries. Take care.
Oh, there's a lot of questions coming in for Ramsdale and Raya today, that's for sure.
We've got 2 more callers we're going to take. Who's up first? Oh, there he is.
Hey.
Hi, Larry. Hi, Frank.
Man? How you doing?
I'm good, bro. How you guys doing?
You look in good spirits, I'll give you that.
Yeah, I'm looking in good spirits, and 8th win on the bands really is something to be good and looking good.
Yeah. Was you always confident that we would get the win? Or was
I predicted 3.
Or was you?
I predicted 3-1.
Oh, okay. But when they pulled it back to 1-1 following that mistake by Ramsdale, was you still as confident or were you nervy? What was your take on it?
Yeah, before the match, I posted on my Twitter space that the game was going to be like the game against Manchester United and against Liverpool. That kind of game I was expecting. I even told the guy on Twitter that it's going to be like that. I predicted it's going to end in a 3-1. Unfortunately, 2-1 it seems. But I will take all 3 points and we'll move on. Remember, I told you it's going to be 16 wins. Remember, Frank? Remember, Larry?
You did.
Right. Let me ask you, so going into tomorrow when City and Liverpool play, or Liverpool and City because Liverpool are at home, Arsenal will be top of the table. What kind of result do you think will happen? Do you think a draw is best for us, or do you think one or the other winning is best for us? Where do you sit on that?
A draw does not dampen any of them, their spirit. So I prefer one team to lose tomorrow to really put their spirit down. Because like taking a draw, felt like, okay, we'll move on to the next game. It's not a loss. But a loss for any of those 2 teams will dampen the spirit and derail them. And if I have to pick a winner for tomorrow, I'll pick Manchester City. I know a lot of people will say, Manchester City? Yes, I prefer Manchester City because why? It gives us every opportunity to have our destiny in our hands. Because if Liverpool wins tomorrow, the destiny is not in our hands. But if Manchester City wins tomorrow, our destiny is in our hands. And we are playing Manchester City on the 31st, which I told you we're going to beat them.
Yeah.
It's a fair point.
That is a very good point, actually. So after today, we don't play again until we play City.
Champions
League.
League.
Do you think, well, apart from the Champions League, obviously. But after Tuesday, we won't play again for a couple of weeks.
31st, yeah.
Do you think that is a help or a hindrance?
I can't really say. At first, I would have felt it's an hindrance, but with the injury Martinelli just suffered recently in the last game, I think it's in our favor because it gives him time to recover. Because you can see the lack of his space into the games really, really affected the team in a transition game. So I would like to see on the positive side and say not playing for the next 2 to 3 weeks is a positive for Arsenal. And now Martinelli will not be going to Brazil and will not be flying over the long 16 hours journey. So I'll take the positive and say it's a good thing. We will not be playing in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that. Maybe we can go over to Dubai again. I mean, that worked pretty well last time.
But I wanted to ask a question. Do you guys think Saka was 100% fit today? because his game really wasn't there. I felt it wasn't really fit.
As far as I'm aware,
he wasn't at his most
the
penetrative today.
Yeah, there was the doubts because of the illness, so maybe he wasn't fully at 100%. And I remember, I think I said it to you, Laurie, off camera, that if there was any sort of doubt, maybe this was a bit of game that we could have rested him. But obviously, with Martinelli being out, of course, that wasn't the case. And you know,
he had moments today, but he didn't have those moments where he looked like he was going to score or assist. So in terms of that, it wasn't his best day, but I thought his overall contribution was good. Yeah. Okay, well, you're saying this is the last game for Aaron Ramsdale, but I don't think so.
Really?
Yeah.
Expand on that. What do you mean?
Because I believe, what's his name? Raya will not play the remaining 10 games of the season. Will not play all of the remaining 10 games. I see something's going to happen.
And it's not going to play the remaining. Loss of form or what?
Not
because I don't think the manager's going to drop him.
Definitely not loss of form. This has to do with injury and all suspensions. I'm seeing it coming.
Okay,
it's coming.
Interesting.
And lastly, Rob Jones and Portieri, they are disgraced and they shouldn't be allowed to officiate a national game. Rob Jones and Portieri are disgraced, according to Ty. They are disgraced to the game of football because how can you tell me that's not a penalty on the Leandro Trossard? No, those guys are disgraced. I actually saw everything that was going to happen today. I predicted that the referee today are going to go mad, but we have been touched by God, so up we go. We're top of the tree again. Come on, you Gunners.
Thank you very much. Nice way in which to end that call. Thank you very much, bro.
Thank you very much.
Speak to you again very soon.
Thank you, bro.
Take care. Right, we've got our last caller of the day today. John, he's a new caller as well, I understand. How you doing, John?
How's it going, guys? Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, man. Where are you calling from, by the way? Can I ask where you're calling from?
I didn't catch up. Yeah, Cambridge, mate.
Cambridge, England. That's good. Yeah, so your thoughts on the game? Your thoughts on the game today?
If I'm really honest, I thought I've seen a lot of people saying that we were going to steamroll Brentford today, and that wasn't the feeling that I was having going into it, and they proved me right because, you know what, sure, it's great to have 6-0, 5-0 wins, but just seeing the interviews of Thomas Frank beforehand, he was saying that he was going to make it hard for Arsenal, and he definitely did. Scrappy, start and stop gameplay. And I really feel for Ramsdale as well because, okay, sloppy mistake, but, you could tell he was on a bit on edge,
Yeah, absolutely. Some people are speculating that, and obviously we don't know, it's just people speculating out loud, that today might have been Ramsdale's last game for Arsenal because he's expected
I agree with that.
At the end of the season. How would you like him to be remembered? Or do you think that this game today kind of summed Ramsdale up in many ways?
Look, the thing with Ramsdale is, okay, you can't discredit what he did for us last season. Take that Liverpool game at the end of the season, he was making some incredible saves, and he needs to be admired and sort of commended for that because, he has done a lot for Arsenal, and it's a bit of a shame that, the mistake he's made today almost cost us the game, but to me, it kind of highlights the main issue why he has been replaced with Raya, and that's because of the inconsistency. He's great distribution-wise. He can think on his feet at times, but he's also a little bit sloppy. So I feel that consistency is why we brought Raya in, and I feel like we need to start trusting Mikel a bit more because he's proven us right. Especially with Kai as well.
Yeah. One thing I would say. So myself and Frank had this conversation earlier, and I'd be interested to hear what your thoughts on this. So do you think that Ramsdale, in that second half anyway, redeemed himself? Or do you think, well, actually, you was the one that put us in this mess in the first place? How do you see that?
No, I mean, to me, again, that's just proving my point there. It's the consistency issue. It's he has the ability to make these amazing stops and saves. Yeah. But then when it comes down to sort of moments in the game where there shouldn't be any kind of a worry, he's making these simple mistakes that is almost costing us the game. So it's unfortunate, like I said, and I do feel like we should hold him in some sort of respect because of what he has accomplished for us. But Absolutely. It is an evolution and it's a process, and the process is working for us, lads. So let's keep going with it,
You mentioned him previously, Kai Havertz. So he scored again today. He got the winner. That's 4 in 4 now. And
amazing.
As you intimated, there was a lot of questions being asked. I'm going to hold my hands up and say I was one of them. I think it's
same here, man. Same
I
here.
mean, listen, people say, I told you, Kyle, I told you. But we were right, I think, to question him because at the start of the season, he was not in his best place. But now he seems to be turning it around and he's almost become one of the go-to players for Arsenal now. So,
I totally agree with you, man. And you know what? I feel like regardless of who it is, unless it's like you're talking about Messi or Ronaldo or some of these big players who, Mbappe, for example, you kind of do expect those kind of results from them. But with any other player, I feel like, they need to prove themselves and you can't just expect it from them because, any of our starting 11 today, they've really put the chops in and they've proved their worth. Like Kivior, for example, as well. He's really stepped up over the last few games, and it's because he's got those results. He's made those tackles, and the same with Kai. He's putting the shots away, and he's earning the respect and trust of the fans. Just something real quick as well.
Sure.
Martin Odegaard said last week in an interview that the reason why they're able to get these amazing results is because they feel safe. That they feel safe with the whole team, how they're working with each other. And again, like you're saying with Kai and earning the trust from the players and the fans, it's that safety that I feel needs to be protected. And unfortunately, I feel like that's the reason why Ramsdale needs to go because, he doesn't really give us that safety cushion,
That's a fair comment. Just want to ask you quickly, because we've got to wrap things up. Ben White, I think he was man of the match today.
Man of the match.
And a lot of what he does is underrated in the team. And I've
really
impressed him recently. I must admit, at the start of the season, he wasn't playing badly, but he wasn't at the levels he'd hit the previous season. But I think now we're seeing him in his best moment, and I thought today he was outstanding.
Yeah, but I totally agree, man of the match. But at the same time, sure, the whole team wasn't really performing as amazingly as we are now at the beginning of the season. But I do feel like, it's because maybe we've learned from last season, and instead of going gung-ho like straight away, we're sort of trying to just draw out these results and getting the results. Sometimes, sure, it's been hard and scrappy, but we're getting the results. And now we're starting to see the gears changing and we're starting to hit the levels that we did at the beginning of last season. But it's the most vital and most important part of this season, at the end of it now. So let's just hope that we continue with it and we get this result and hopefully we get that title, lads, Are
you confident for the game on Tuesday against Porto? Another massive Champions League.
Funnily enough, my girlfriend's actually Portuguese, so I'll actually be flying out to Porto to spend it with her family. But I mean, thankfully, her dad's a Porto supporter, but he's not going to be there. So otherwise, I might not be allowed in the house. But I'm confident that we'll get it. We got the Emirates, we got the fans backing us, and we just need to draw them out, and get that result, and I think we'll get it.
Okay,
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Thanks very much. That's a lovely way in which to end. And listen, man, enjoy the game.
Cheers, guys.
Enjoy your time out there, and let's hope that the next time we speak, we're we're celebrating that, moving forward, maybe going on to win this Premier League. Thank you very much.
Definitely. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Take care.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? The man's got a Portuguese girlfriend, Porto fan.
Someone actually in the chat actually pointed out the fact that I didn't realise it until I've just seen the message. He actually looked like Fabio Vieira.
He did a little bit, didn't he? Yeah, he did. Yeah. He might have some Portuguese blood in him.
Possibly.
Yeah. But so you've heard the fans seem to be in a positive frame of mind. Even though, I mean, listen, let's be honest, we weren't at our best today, but I think we can all pretty much agree that we did deserve to win. It's not like,
Absolutely,
the performance had dipped that below what we normally play.
Of course, Look, the way I look at it is, I think you can only take so many negatives from a win. The negative obviously being the Aaron Ramsdale mistake, and obviously, unfortunately, it wasn't the same 6 and 7s that we've been seeing. But this was just like,
but that wasn't always going to be the case.
Absolutely,
Sooner or later,
and that's never, that's at no point been guaranteed. So for me, this was back down to earth. Back down to earth. Focus. No, you're not going to beat every team 5-6. No. Sometimes you're going to need these 2-1 wins. You grind out a win. Look, we won the game. That's all that matters to me.
Absolutely.
We move on to Tuesday.
I think James said on the watch along we did that he'd take 10 more 1-0.
I'll take 10 more 1. Listen, a win for me is a win, and especially if neither team win tomorrow. You know, if this is a draw tomorrow, 10 wins would be enough. Just 10 1-0 wins would be enough to do it.
Although 1-0 won't be enough on Tuesday.
It wouldn't be enough on Tuesday. Well,
which is so.
We've got
Tuesday,
we've got to look at that. We've got to look at that first, absolutely. And look,
Are you confident?
There's absolutely no reason for me not to be. Obviously, it was very disappointing away in Portugal, but you know, Porto set out a certain way that we didn't necessarily expect them to, and you know, it worked for them.
It did.
I think it's going to be a completely different story at the Emirates. They're going to try and do that.
Completely different story or completely different game? 'Cause I don't think it'll be a completely different game. Insofar as let me just.
I think it's going to be a different story in terms of the result. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't see a Porto will do exactly the same thing.
They're going to do exactly the same. But what I think the difference is going to be is obviously having that home crowd behind us, and obviously we know exactly how they're going to set out. We're going to be on the attack from the get-go. We need an early goal. This is the way I look at it. We need an early goal in that first 15 minutes of the game just to get it back on level terms.
Does Ramsdale start?
No. And that's not me saying I don't want him to start. It's just that Mikel will not start him in this game.
I don't think so.
It's clear that Ramsdale's that was a goodbye today, like I've said. And
you honestly think that? Yeah?
I do think it is, and that's not me saying that I want it to be, because I think Ramsdale is a massive reason as to why we are back in the position where we are today, which is competing for the league. And challenge and back in the Champions League, and I will forever be grateful to Aaron Ramsdale for that. Like I said, one of the best goalkeepers, I would say the best goalkeeper we've had since our last great goalkeeper in Jens Lehmann. People will say Petr Cech. You know, he was okay. He had one good season, a couple bad seasons. But for me, you know, I think he tops the rest since Jens. Yeah, so
I think that's fair enough.
It's sad to see him go. I think I'm saying see him go because I'm quite confident.
Yeah,
that
I see where you're coming from. You're saying like barring injury or any, you know, what I mean,
there's no more planned games for Aaron Ramsdale unless Raya gets injured.
Well, you know what? If he does, at least he bows out on a win. And 100%. Like I said, although he committed that error in the first half, many people will say he redeemed himself in the second half with 2 outstanding saves. So.
And when we look at his Arsenal career as a whole, I'm definitely looking more at the positives that he brought to the club than the negatives.
Yeah, he's been a big part of the turnaround.
Thank you.
But anyway, okay then. So that's it. Thank you very much, everybody that contributed to the full-time show today. It was very interesting to hear your calls and very good points made. Thank you, Frank, for your contributions, not just on this show, but on the watch-along earlier. Good luck with your big night next week.
Yes.
Coming up. Tell the people what you're doing.
I got a week until unboxing, guys. I may have mentioned it on some of the watch-alongs, just in case I know some of you may not know. I'm competing in a charity boxing match next Saturday, the 16th of March. It's like I said, it's a charity boxing match. I'm raising money for a charity called Little Hearts Matter, who assist and work with children that are born with a single ventricle heart condition or half a working heart. I had an uncle that was born with this condition, who unfortunately died at the start of last year. So I'm fighting in his honour, and I'm raising money and fighting to raise money for the charity that helped him a lot throughout his life. So I think it's, you know, I'm honouring his life. And I've just found out my opponent as well. So it's going to be interesting.
Is it AJ?
It's not AJ. It might Ngannou might be more my level. But I found out he's a Spurs fan.
Oh wow!
He's 6'2",
motivation.
So he's a little bit taller than me, but the fact that he's a Spurs fan, you know, even more incentive to win the fight. That's for sure.
I'm sure you will, man. I'm sure you will. But listen, bro, thank you very much. Hope it goes well next week.
Appreciate it.
Like I said to everybody who contributed today, not just the people who called, but the people in the comments, people who supported our shows, the watch along, the full times, the fan cams. Big up. Keep it locked and loaded on AFTV, your one-stop shop for all Arsenal content. We are out. We will see you again on Tuesday. Massive game. Arsenal at home to Porto in the knockout stage of the Champions League. Let's go. Let's go.
Come on, you Gunners.
Take care. We're out. Bye.